All right, crew, around here, I would say within the last 2 months, basically the entire summer, if you want to find any good inventory, you have to do it inside the thrift stores. The Goodwill outlet really hasn't been producing, at least not for me, but in this video, it is the other way around. So we're headed up to the Goodwill outlet and I am taking you along for the ride like I always do. The thrift stores did not produce this trip, but the Goodwill bins did. In fact, one of the items that I sourced in this video from the Goodwill outlet has already sold. You will not believe the price I got for it. Stay tuned. I have a lot of people to mention in this video today, so I'm hoping that I get everybody's name correct. I met a ton of people, especially this trip to the bins, because I went on a day that I don't normally go, so hopefully I get everybody's name correct. Love all of you for saying hello. First thing we're going to do, though, we're going to pop into a store that's on the way to the bins, and when I'm looking at the hats here, I notice a lot that I haven't seen since my last trip, and so that makes me hopeful in that they're turning a lot of this inventory over. This Burton hat was pretty cool, $5. I didn't really look it up. The North Face hat, I'm headed to the bins, so I'm pretty reluctant to buy a hat that I think is probably like a $20 bill here because, foreshadowing, I might get lucky at the bins. So I'm going to leave all of those hats behind, and then I went down to the hard goods section, and they have a fresh cart out here, and they have this monogram Coach bag that looks awesome, except for the damage on the handles. So I think I'm going to leave that one behind. And then underneath here, I have a Kate Spade tote that looks cool, and it actually looks brand new, right? It's got plastic over the handles, over the shoulder straps here. Now I know you won't be able to see this. They only want $8 for it, but it looked like the letters were very poorly glued onto the front, and then there was no tag on the inside of the tote, which isn't abnormal, I don't think, but then I started to get suspicious, and so I had it in my cart, but I end up putting it back because it's just not something that I want to deal with. And so let's just see if there's anything else on these fresh carts that looks a little bit better, feels a little bit better than the Kate Spade. So bummer on the Coach, definitely a bummer on the Kate Spade here. And then everything else I'm not really either familiar with or I believe has value. I didn't look that plate up, so maybe that could have or deserved a second look. I don't really know. Moved over to the kids section, not really much going on here, but if you happen to see this guy in better condition, grab him. So this is from the movie Turbo from DreamWorks. He's like the 12, 13, 14 inch plush. And there's one listed, actually the lowest one that's listed right now is listed for $25. They were asking $3 for this one, and I did see one sell for $25 with free shipping, but you can see it had a little hole right there. And so that basically eliminates him from reselling contention as far as you're asking me. So I had to leave him behind, but I think he's a bolo if he turns up in your area. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to spend a ton of time here, although it was very, very quiet and very empty. I'm not going to go through the clothing aisles. I'm just going to look at some of the hard goods and the shoes. And I know what you folks who are familiar with this brand are thinking. Brendan, what are you doing picking this pair of shoes up? So they're orange and they're puffy and they caught my eye. I'm not a women's shoe expert. And ASOS, just based on the numbers, if that's how you pronounce the brand, look terrible. So at first glance, I'm like, these are funky, these are cool, like I should be able to make these work, like maybe I can even sell them in brand new condition. But when I ran the numbers said otherwise. Just looking up ASOS heels, there were like 600 or so listed and only 60 had sold in the last 90 days. That ratio, if you will, is terrible. So I end up putting those back also. There's a couple of other brands here that are a little bit better. Solomon is one of them. But these ones have some different type of gel insoles that I don't really want to mess with here. I'm looking for the real insoles for that shoe, so we're leaving those behind. There's another pair of Salomons that weren't in that good of condition there, so we have to just glance over the rest of this, and I think this is either maybe the second or third time that I've gone through, so I'm really just looking to see if there's something that I missed the first go-round. But other than that silly pair of heels, I don't think there's anything here I can use. Looks like maybe those were Eddie Bauer duck boots or Sperry. I don't remember what was wrong with them, but I left those behind as well, although I did just sell a pair of Eddie Bauer. duck boots, so it is that season. It's also like kind of over for backpack season when it comes to like the mad rush for back to school, but I am still looking for them because, foreshadowing again, there are certain brands that sell year round when it comes to backpacks. So this was a cool Disney Cruise Lines like insulated tote there. I didn't bother looking it up. You know, Disney does well, but I'm really kind of, again, just glancing over some of the stuff, not really working really hard because I know I'm headed to the outlet here in just a little bit. So it has to really stand out in this store if I'm going to grab it, but I don't see anything. Do you spot anything in the bag section here that looks like it is something that could have been something? I don't recognize any of these brands too, but I'm definitely going to check the bags here, especially since there's no competition. There's nobody in this store. So it's kind of like I've got the whole place to myself on an early morning. But nope, nothing hanging off the racks here. But there was another woman in the store buying dolls, and I'm going to show you why here in just a second. I believe this was her vehicle. Look at how interesting this is. So yeah, dolls upon dolls upon dolls all over this car. Does that say Soul Sister on the front? I thought this was super unique, so I wanted to show it to you folks. But yeah, check this thing out. You don't see cars like this every day, and it looked like, based on her cart, she had 3 or 4 that she could add to her collection. So we're gonna make a pit stop really quick. I have my oldest with me. Bubble tea or boba tea seems like it is popping up everywhere in my area. There are a couple of brands, Bubbles Tea, that have been around for a long time, but there's a lot of these little shops opening up recently where you get yourself a tea or a drink mix of some sort, like a fruity drink or a milk, and you can add boba bubbles or crystal popping bubbles to your drink at the bottom of them. There's some of them have tapioca. There's some that are strawberry flavored, mango flavored. And so my daughter's on a kick now where she's getting the chocolate milk. It's almost like an Oreo mixture with real chewy tapioca boba on the bottom. I think it's delicious. I got a strawberry oolong that had crystal boba on the bottom. So it's more of a thing that she's been interested in. There's my drink right there, that strawberry oolong. And I have to tell you, it was delicious. I don't know if it's like this in your area. Let me know if you've got Bubbles, boba tea shops opening up. But cheers there, kiddo. But have you had a boba tea before? Let me know what you're drinking. If you're familiar with them in the comments. Now it is time to head into the outlet. Now the last time I was here, it was a little bit sour smelling in some of the bin rotations, so it was sort of hard to find at least a lot in the first maybe hour and a half. I'm walking in midday. It's like a minor miracle that there's a cart. So I grab a cart, I'm gonna walk in, and let me tell you, I did much better this trip than I did in my last trip. So that is definitely something that is encouraging. So we gotta weave through everybody here. I'm looking at a shoe rotation first. Now this is just a stale rotation. This is not one that has just come out. So I've got a great pair of Olakais here. These are, I think Nui is the style. I'll put the comps on the screen because I don't remember it off the top of my head. N-U-I. Anyway, these are great. These are going to sell anywhere from $29 to $35. They're a little bit on the heavy side, so they can't ship first class, but that's okay. The comparables are saying that that's a good pickup, and I know we're moving into fall and eventually winter. Some of my Olakais, actually a lot of them, are selling a little bit slower this year than they did last year, but that specific style of thong sandal in a size 12, I think I can still move it here in the next couple of months. So that was a good pickup here. Outside of that, I'm not really seeing much else along the lines of shoes, so we're gonna have to move on. Now, the first person I have to thank is Karen. And Karen, was it your son, Evan, that I was supposed to say hello to? If I've got it right, I'm super happy. If not, I super apologize for that. But Karen, this is a U2 Zoo TV tour. She actually was the one that found this and said, this is not my wheelhouse. Do you think you can do something with it? Well, we're going to kind of learn together here because this is not a tour shirt with all of the dates on the back. Normally you would see, you know, from, I think this was from 1997, all of the tour dates on the back. This is just from Pittsburgh, August 25th, Three Rivers. So when we're talking about pricing this, I don't know how to price this either. It would be easier if it was the tour shirt that had all of the dates on them, because then I can kind of go in and give you a really specific price point. I listed this for $50, and again, thank you for sourcing it and saying hello and introducing yourself. But I priced it at $50 because I didn't know any better, and it's going to take a little bit longer. That's probably going to sell to somebody that's from or familiar with the Pittsburgh area, or somebody that was there that exact day, which reduces the buyer pool. But I think $50 is still fair. It's vintage, it's single stitch, it's U2, it's a band t-shirt, it's all the rage right now. So I think I can still move it at $50. But Karen, big shout out to you, big shout out to all of your sons, and we'll move on to some clothing. So I grabbed this coat and it was very clean. Felt like leather, turns out it's not leather. So I saw this flying cross made in Italy and then instantly thought I would be a millionaire. Verapel, size 54. Unfortunately, it's not leather, but I only sell on eBay. And yes, I have a Poshmark, and I just had this conversation with some resellers today. I have Poshmark, I have Mercari. I don't utilize them to the fullest extent. It's just me. So maybe this would sell on one of those other platforms, but there weren't very good comparables for that jacket on eBay, so I'm going to leave it behind. Even though it's nice and clean and we're at the bins, I can get it for a deal. I'm definitely going to grab this though. Shout out to you, Flo. Flo and I help each other out often. I've known her for a long time. She gave me this, so I didn't really even source this. She was like, here, I have this coat for you, and then I gave her a bag. So we swapped some items that I could use better, make use of, and she could make better use of here. But this is a vintage Carhartt, and in this condition, there is a market for it. So I will do a very simple wipe down, maybe get any of the hairs that might be inside of the jacket if there are any at all, and that's the extent of the cleaning. But this here I have listed for $50 in this very condition. If you looked at the inside, the quilting was excellent. It's in excellent condition. This is a very that's a very hardworking jacket that's been through a lot, but they make them excellent, and it is vintage. It was a men's size 42. One of the nice things about today, or this trip to the bins, was they were really hustling to get the new clothing onto the floor. So big shout out to you guys on Bryce Road for really hustling, because they were moving stuff in and out quick. It felt great. I mean, it was just, there were a lot of people there, but they were really turning the inventory over fast. I have a Grayson hoodie right here. Grayson is definitely a Bolo brand. I shouldn't say this exact hoodie, because the sold comparable that I saw looked like it was more pink than it was white, and that could have just been color fading, but almost exact one here sold for $100. So this is a size large. It's got the Grayson on the front and the design on the back, so it's a front and back design, tie-dye, so it's pre-washed, and I think I'll end up listing that for $100 as well. Please look for that brand if you are not familiar with it, but really big shout out and a big difference from the last time I was here when things were moving a little bit slower. So I feel like a renewed resurgence of taking trips to the bins, because I haven't really been going. I've been going to the retail stores more often. But the Carhartt jacket, that's a big hitter at $50, and then the Grayson even bigger at $100. So keep your eye out for both of those things, and do not worry about well worn in a lot of cases when it comes to Carhartt. The next thing I'm going to grab here, this is one that's just sort of like me taking a chance, because I don't sell packed. I don't know that I've ever sold packed, but just looking up their sweatshirts, there were, if I remember correctly, maybe 120 listed, but it looked like 60 or so had sold in the last 90 days. I feel like that's enough for me to take a risk on a brand that I'm not familiar with. What can I call this? $20, $25. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to price it at, but it's a pretty color. It's a size large, and that is a lot of sales, if you're asking me, for a sweatshirt in the last 90 days since we are coming out of summer. So I'll take that risk. I can't really tell you if Pact is a brand that everybody should pick up, because I'm really not familiar with it 100%, but I'll let you know how it goes. This is a no-brainer because it's Hello Kitty, and Hello Kitty is like one of the hottest Bolo brands in existence right now. This is a 3T, so it's definitely not going to fit my youngest daughter, but how cute is this? The sold comps are in like the $10 range. I might push this to 20 since I think I'll be the only one with a 3T, but how could you possibly pass this up? And the fact that it's probably going to cost me, what, $1, because we're paying by the pound here. Very small, very light, very pretty, and very clean. I'm taking it all day long. Hello Kitty, keep your eyes peeled for everything with Hello Kitty on it and all of the characters associated with her. It is a huge Bolo brand right now. In fact, I was just in a store recently and there was a Hello Kitty radio. Unfortunately, it was too, I think, sun cooked. You know how some of the the white plastic fades in the sun. It just had too much fading, so I left it behind. But keep your eyes out for all things Hello Kitty. That thing was just way too cute to pass up. Does anybody see anything that they recognize here? Because I'm kind of moving fast and like I can't do two things at once. So I see Ohio State stuff here. Cool looking Cincinnati Bengals shirt for women. I don't know. I mean, should I pick this up? Should I not pick this up? I end up leaving it behind because it looks like it has some armpit stains that would stand out even if the shirt was worn. So I left that behind. I don't see anything else here that looks cool, so we're going to keep moving on. All right, shout out number 2, Robin. Thank you so much for saying hello, introducing yourself, and thanks so much for the bag here. So how I'm going to clean this is basically how I'm going to end up cleaning it with how I do my shoes. I'm going to throw it in the wash, a little bit of dish soap, let it run its course, and be done with it. The mesh on both sides is in decent enough condition. It's the exterior that just probably needs to be cleaned a little bit. And this is a case where I'll throw it in the wash. I think it will clean up pretty well. And I'm gonna buy North Face backpacks year round. So did we miss the sort of gold rush, if you will, with backpack buying because the kids are now officially in school, at least, you know, maybe half of them, with some of them coming, you know, in the next week or two. Maybe we missed out on that, but North Face backpacks is like, North Face is a brand where their backpacks will sell year round. So I'm going to pick this up and thank you for sourcing it, but that's it. That's all I'm going to do with it, Robin. Just throw it in the washer, get it cleaned, get it photographed, and eventually sell it. North Face bags are good sellers. That one I think just had some cosmetic damage that I think will come out in the wash. Now, you guys have heard me say Raising Cane's in most cases is a Bolo brand that you need to pay attention to. This hat here is a prime example of that. This is a 1LV, that means one love. That's their motto. This hat here is limited edition. These are extremely hard to find. They're extremely valuable. Now, I already had this listed and I've already sold the hat. It's already shipped out. So I had it listed, I think, within 24 hours. It was gray, mesh. It had wear. I mentioned that in my listing, and it had an interesting pin to go along with it. That hat sold, if you can believe it, for $120. Andrew, I'm thinking of you specifically because I know you found a similar one that I think was blue. It's just a matter of time before yours sells. I think gray was like the more popular color, and that rotation disappeared within like maybe 30 seconds of me finding that hat. So they brought out a second rotation of bags and hats, and I end up finding this amazing tactical bug out bag. So the brand here is Sandpiper. And the only issue I think I have with this bag is it was very heavy, but very heavy means very well made. So bug out bag is one of the keywords I'll use. Tactical bag is another one that I will use. And I think it was probably about 4 to 5 pounds. So it's gonna cost a little bit of money. I still think that I can list it between $50 and $60. These are very good sellers too. So it's definitely something that you wanna keep your eye on. I think if you're asking me, like if that turns up into a store, if you're not in an area where they mark everything up ridiculously high because they don't know any better, then that thing will probably slip in $4 to $5 in a store. I'm gonna pay probably twice that here because we're $1.99 a pound in this area. This is Columbus, Ohio, but that was a great find. I cannot believe that the Raising Cane's hat sold as fast as it did. And shout out to everybody that pitched in, said hello. I love you guys. That bag turned out to be about 5 pounds, so I think it was 12 pounds for all of the items that you saw me source in that video, and then my total listed value will come to $470, so that was a pretty good haul. Now, in one of my next videos, you're gonna see a very familiar brand return, but I have a proposal for you, so if you're not subscribed, I want you to be subscribed for that because I have an idea that I think will be fun in the event this recurring theme on this channel continues. So stay tuned for that. Brendan here, Dad Planet, The One Man Show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.